Hi, this is Jonathan Rosenhead, Jerusalem psychotherapist. This week's Torah and Psychology post about Toldos and the war in Israel is going to discuss the fight, flight, freeze response, otherwise known as the acute stress response in the body. And this is when a person is faced with some imminent danger or stress, and the body has a survival mechanism which activates the autonomic nervous system in order to take on this danger. It prepares the body on a physiological level to be able to face this danger, whether it's through the activation and the release of neurotransmitters and the adrenaline that's going through the body, the blood flow through the body, the muscles are prepared, increasing the heart rate and the pumping of the heart, and the increased rate of a person's breathing. These are the physiological changes that the body is going through in order to be prepared to take on the danger. And taking on the danger can be expressed in two ways. And this automatic response is a choice between fighting, the body is ready to fight, or the body is ready to run away. And that is a way to be able to survive the imminent danger. But when a person feels overwhelmed, or the body and the person feels overwhelmed by the situation, and it leads them to being in a sensation of hopelessness, then there is no actual viable option. The system, in a sense, crashes. That it doesn't have, there isn't this choice or this activation of the fight or flight response, but rather it goes into a state of freezing, of complete hopelessness. And this is the traditional understanding of the acute stress response of the body and the survival mechanism which is expressed through fight, flight, or freeze. And we can see in this week's parasha with Yaakov and Esav that we learn of how Yaakov took or received the brachas from his father, from Yitzchak, instead of Esav. And we read about the furious response of Esav, and that he actually wanted to kill his brother. And Rivka says to Yaakov, your life is in danger. Your brother wants to kill you. You need to run away. And the wording of the pasuk says, V'ata b'ni, shma b'koli, kum v'barach lecha. He says, now, son, you need to listen, you need to run away. You need to run away because your life is in imminent danger. And we see this is the flight response in the sense of how Yaakov is going to survive this imminent danger of Esav coming to kill him. He needs to run away. He needs to flee. And the Orach Chaim comments on the wording of the pasuk, comments on the urgency in the tone of Rivka. It says, V'ata b'ni, now my son, you need to do it now. This is a automatic, almost this immediate response that you need to respond and run away to save your life. And the Orach Chaim explains that this is based on the idea that you never know when you are going to, in a sense, when you're going to die. You never know when your life is going to come to an end. And this is learnt out by the Orach Chaim from the idea of teshuvah, that you should always do teshuvah because maybe tomorrow or today will be your last day, and you never know when you're going to have the opportunity to do teshuvah. So you should live this moment as if it's your last moment and do teshuvah now. And therefore it's extended to the idea that Yaakov, if he waits any longer, it might be too late, and he needs to act now. This is the immediate urgency of the response to imminent danger. In the sense of, in the context of teshuvah, which the Orach Chaim presents, this is an adaptive response. It gives a person the motivation and the understanding of the significance of time and significance of the life that they're living, and it generates this sense of understanding and purpose and meaning, which leads to teshuvah as well. And this is an adaptive response for understanding the urgency. And certainly if a person's life is in danger, the fight, flight, freeze response, the fight or flight response is adaptive, and it helps a person to be able to overcome the danger. But if a person lives their life and feels that they are always under imminent danger, that their life is at risk, where really, in reality, there is no danger, this is a maladaptive response of a hyperactive activation of the autonomic nervous system, that it doesn't make a distinction between potential danger, real danger, or a sense or a perceived danger in a person's environment. And this is seen in cases of post-traumatic stress disorder, that a person's autonomic nervous system is activated, it's active, and it's hyperactive in the sense that it doesn't make this distinction. We see this startle response, this fight-flight response, even when they are no longer in any situation of danger. And if we look at the current situation that we're in the war in Israel, this certainly relates to the soldiers and the necessity to be able to be in a survival mode, in defense mechanism, in a fight or flight, preferably, hopefully, in a fight mode to be able to survive and to defeat the enemy. And this is the reality that they are living at the moment, and even on a vicarious level, to the extent what other people are experiencing, people who are not actually involved in the war actively in fighting, but they are experiencing this sense of stress, this sense of danger and anxiety. And in this case, it could be that it's adaptive to understand that our body is in a fight or flight response at the moment. But there's actually an extended understanding of the fight-flight-freeze response, which is explained by the polyvagal theory of Stephen Porges, that says that there's actually we can try to look at this on different levels. And he says, based on the theory, that a person's baseline of safety is achieved by social engagement, its connection and communication with other people. And this is the baseline the person wants to be at, hopefully will live their life at. But when they are under stress, this leads to a spiking, and it takes them out of this level of safety, and they enter into fight or flight. That it activates the sympathetic nervous system, and it leads them to want to be able to take on the challenge and take on this stress and this anxiety or danger. And hopefully that will bring them back down to a level of safety. But sometimes when a person is overwhelmed and feels a sense of hopelessness, and the fight or flight does not help, and they still feel that they're in a state of danger, and they can't get out of the situation, this leads to spiking up and peaking to a level of freezing. And it's interesting that according to the way the polyvagal theory maps out this response, the safety and the social engagement and the freeze state actually both relate to the parasympathetic nervous system. It activates in the same sort of level, the physiological response in the body, but the safety response comes from a state of calmness, a state of safety and security, whereas the freeze response comes from a position or a state of hopelessness and desperation. So what Stephen Porges is explaining through the polyvagal theory is that a person needs to understand the position of the fight or flight, but it is actually adaptive, and it helps the person to deal with certain stressful situations and to hopefully bring a person back to safety. And this is through social engagement and connection and communication. And if we relate to the current situation, our current situation now, that if we are in a fight or flight response and that is adaptive, we also need to understand that we need to manage this stress. We need to make sure that it doesn't become overwhelming and peak up to a level of being in a state of freezing, that we are in a state of hopelessness. And based on the polyvagal theory, it also stresses the significance, as we said, of safety, of social engagement. That if we make sure that we are connecting with other people, that we are seeking the help of other people, that if we are just talking to our friends and family and just trying to strengthen this baseline of safety and social engagement, it will help us to maintain a sense of balance and a sense of healthy functioning, that ensures that we're able to manage in a healthy way this fight or flight response that we are experiencing at the moment because of the war, and prevents leading up and escalating to a freeze response. And hopefully we will be able to endure and go through this difficult situation at the moment and come out healthy and return to this baseline of social engagement and safety. Have a great Shabbos. Keep well.